Hey guys, welcome back to another great game of CEDH. Starting us off is Dan on Kinnan. This is actually Combo Kinnan, eschewing the larger creatures for added combo line support and redundancies. Next up is Kevin from Elder Drunken Highlander, who is trying out Talion. It's basically a Ristic on a body, aiming to draw a bunch of cards and punish your opponents for casting a bunch of spells. In the third spot we have Hidden on Najeela. This is an ad nos variant, but the warrior princess is all about slamming a sea of warriors while letting you combo kill out of nowhere if left unchecked. And bringing up the rear is TJ, who is also on Kinnan, but the big creature variant you see more often in the current meta.
Alright, block there, kill that. Oh, that is trample. Guess I'm just dead on board.
Hey guys, I wanted to... Oh, wait one sec. That's better. The folks over at INTOTHEAM sent me over a few shirts to check out. And honestly, I can be a little bit picky when it comes to clothes. But these honestly are super comfy, and the colors really pop. So I'm super happy about that. They also gave me a 10% discount link in case any of you also want to check it out and pick something up to help support the channel. But without further ado, let's get on to the gameplay.
Also, I should note both TJ and Kevin both mold the 6. Kevin does have a pregame effect as he plays out a Gemstone Cavern, exiling a Scalding Tarn. Dan officially starts us off with an Ancient Tomb and takes 2 to cast a Stonework Pack Beast, with Kevin at his end step Vamp tutoring.
This is me not exactly sure what I should be doing, but I think I know what to do.
Kevin draws his tutored card and plays out a Dark Slick Shores as land. A Jeweled Lotus then comes out, with it only staying for a second as he casts his commander Talion, who on ETB names 2. Hidden has a Tundra and exiles an Elvish Spirit Guide to cast a turn 1 Dreadeth Magistrate. He will lose 2 off the Talion trigger, but the creature will resolve as Hidden passes. TJ's hand unfortunately got a lot worse with the Dreadeth, as he plays out a Lotus Petal into a Chrome Mox. He imprints a Tezzeret the Seeker and then takes 3 as he plays out an untapped Seagate Reborn as land, with him then cracking his petal to help cast a Manglehorn. Kevin will draw another card off Talion, with the Manglehorn destroying the Pack Beast off his ETB. Dan has a Rejuvenating Springs and takes 2 more to cast the Ristic Study, although Kevin wants to be the only one drawing cards, as he has an offer you can't refuse, giving Dan 2 treasures. Kevin plays a Morphic Pool as land and casts a Felwar Stone. It enters tapped, with Kevin then heading to combat and smacking Hidden for 3 with Talion. Hidden has a Scalding Tarn as land, cracking the fetch to grab out a Taiga, which he then taps to cast a Noble Hierarch. He follows that up with a Mana Vault, although unfortunately due to the Manglehorn it enters tapped, as Hidden ends his turn with combat, sending his Exalted Draneth at Kevin for 2. TJ casts a Springleaf Drum and taps his Manglehorn to help him cast the Grim Monolith. He takes 2 from Talion and passes. Dan plays and cracks a Verdant Catacombs for a Tropical Island. He takes 2 more as he taps his Tomb and the land to cast an Incubation Druid, with Kevin getting another draw off Talion.
I will untap.
We have drawn Talion a lot of cards.
I will draw his... I think it's great.
Kevin plays out a basic Swamp and casts a tapped Soul Ring into a tapped Mox Opal, once again ending his turn by smacking Hidden with Talion for 3. Hidden takes 1 from his tap vault and has a Bayou as land. Tapping 3, he then casts his commander Najeela. He takes 2 off Talion, but the commander resolves, with Hidden sending 2 more damage back at Kevin. TJ is ready for some pain as he channels out a Colossal Sky Turtle to bounce Hidden's Draneth. He then follows it up by casting his commander Kinnan. He takes 2 off Talion, but the commander resolves, and he actually passes after that. Dan plays an Urza Saga and casts his commander Kinnan. Kevin draws, but this Kinnan also resolves, with him then casting a Green Sun where X equals 5. Apparently Kevin hasn't found any counter magic, as Dan grabs out a Seedborn Muse.
I will pass turn.
Please, what do you have?
I don't have anything.
You don't have anything?
No.
Kevin and Dan untap, with Kevin heading straight to combat. He sends Talion back at Hidden, who takes the hit, with Kevin on his second main casting a Narset, Parter of Veils, who downticks, finding a Muddle the Mixture from the top 4. Next up is a Henny's Expertise, with Dan responding by activating his Kinnan. He unfortunately doesn't find any whammies and puts a Marrowleaf Pixie into play. But Dan has more responses, as he then casts a March of Swirling Mist. He exiles a Spellseeker to make X equals 3, to which Kevin's spell pierces it, and the table then scoop up their creatures, with only Talion and the Seedborn surviving. Kevin then uses the Expertise to cast a Bloodchief's Ascension, ending his turn with a Lotus Petal and triggering Ascension for a counter. Hidden takes 1 from his tap vault and then plays out a Wooded Foothills. Hidden does debate whether or not he can afford to give another counter to the Ascension, and ultimately decides he needs to keep moving forward, as he cracks his fetch for a Savannah. He then casts a Ranger Captain of Eos, which resolves, and on ETB grabs Hidden a Birds of Paradise, casting the birds, with Kevin then getting another counter on his Ascension at end step. TJ draws, but doesn't find a green source, or mana at all, as he passes the turn. Dan untaps, draws, and gets another lore counter, with him playing out a forest as land. Dan has no fear as he takes 2 off his tomb to cast Kinnan. He takes another 2 off Kevin's Talion trigger as well. The commander resolves, with Dan then heading to combat and sending 2 at Narset, with the Ascension ticking up to 3 at end step. Kevin heads to his turn and casts a Wishclaw Talisman. He activates the talisman to go searching. He gives it over to Dan and finds the card he was searching for. He then casts a Mind Crank, and Hidden realizes that he should have popped the Ranger Captain in response to the tutor. The artifact resolves, with Kevin then heading to combat and swinging Talion at Dan for 3. Upon taking the damage, this will trigger the Mind Crank to mill 3. And with each mill trigger, the Bloodchief's Ascension deals him more damage and repeats the mill train to take Dan out of the game, with Kevin getting his talisman back and passing the turn after that. Hidden untaps and has to pay to untap his mana vault. He then heads to combat and sends his Ranger Captain at Narset to take the Planeswalker out. TJ draws and still doesn't find anything and passes.
So many choices, so many options. I think I'll just pass, though. Okay. I think we'll pass. I will untap.
Now that I can safely look at your hand, I was like, that's even.
Yeah. I'll draw. So if the expertise didn't happen, we had that on turn. I guess we'll just rub it in. I'll tap 2.
You attack the Admiral's player, right?
I'll cast Thassa's Oracle.
Sure.
Resolves.
Yep.
Trigger on the stack.
Death.
Demonic Constitution.
Death by 1,000 WinCons.
Game review. Well, I guess that's just what happens when you feed a bunch of cards to a player. But in all seriousness, I think it was also due to a few extra things lining up pretty well for Kevin to be so dominant that game. The first was actually a smart move on his part. He tutored up his Lotus instead of a Mana Crypt, valuing not going shields down over some more everlasting mana. Next was Hidden actually going third and letting Kevin sneak in his commander under that turn 1 Drannith, which really did hamper both Kinnans, while giving Kevin the time he needed to gain in more advantage off the Talion. I do have to agree that I misplayed, unfortunately, by not cracking that Ranger Captain on either his upkeep or at least in response to the tutor. But I think the extra turn really wouldn't have solved anything and only just delayed the inevitable. Other than that, the Henny's expertise majorly shifted things in his favor, as it was a one-sided board wipe that sent everyone to the Shadow Realm, and it really sealed the deal. Thanks to everyone that joined for the game, and before everyone leaves, I want to thank our special Patreon members, Sly Fox, Tango Down, and Holy Septic, for their support of the channel, along with all of our other Patreon supporters as well. And remember, never give up, even if you're dead on board. I'll see you guys later.